Music in the Cafe, a Lukanette alternate universe month-long fanfiction. I will be using the daily prompts found in the Lukanette September 2019 calendar. This is not mine. I will be putting the Tumblr page I found this on in the description box below. I do not claim any credit to it, only to the story. Thank you for watching, reading, or listening. Day 7, Second Chance. Oh my god, why? Marinette raced down the stairs, leaving Luca, probably confused, and alone in her studio without a single idea of what had just happened. Her face was red all over, and she could feel the water in her eyes collect. "Tiki," she called urgently as soon as Marinette got into the back of the counters. "Yeah?" said her red-headed friend. Marinette took a second to catch her breath before explaining. "He called me, and I don't know what to do," she gushed. Tiki arched a brow and her eyes pointed. "Who?" Marinette shoved the phone in front of Tiki's face, who gasped and dropped what she was holding, which just happened to be an empty mug for a customer that stayed at the coffee shop. It crashed to the ground with a loud clink and crackle. Tiki's eyes went wide and she cursed under her breath. Plag turned his head, and even the customer leaned in to see what all the commotion was about, only to have Tiki wave them off and plucked a broom from the wall, muttering for more forbidden words. "What do I do?" Marinette whisper shouted. Tiki bit her lip, thinking fast. "Pick up!" she decided on. Marinette's eyes went so wide they looked like they were about to pop out of their sockets. "I'm sorry, what now?" she cried out. Tiki gave her a pointed look that said, "Do I look like I'm kidding?" Marinette sputtered, not even getting a real word out. The ginger rolled her eyes and pressed the green call accept button before Marinette could pull her phone away. A call starting beep rung before a low hello was heard, making Marinette pull a very scared face with a silent scream. Tiki shooed her out and began to sweep the floor as Marinette panicked in the back. "Hello?" the voice asked again, and Marinette flailed her arms around, hiding in the very back corner, which was covered by a black sheet, the so-called meeting room. "Hi!" she squealed out, putting the phone to her head, biting her fist as the words came out of her mouth. Oh god, this was a bad idea. This was gonna be a mess. She was a mess. A silky laugh came from the other line. "I didn't think that you were going to pick up," they said, clearly amused. Yeah, like this entire situation was so immensely comedic. I did, though, so Marinette reposted, trying to keep her voice even and her hands from shaking. "Very surprising, if I'm being honest," they retorted back. Marinette rolled her eyes. Did they really have to constantly repeat everything and be so redundant? "So, why'd you call?" she asked. Clearly, the annoyance had softened the layer of fear and allowed her to speak without turning every sentence into a spaz. "I wanted to catch up. It's been so long, hasn't it?" they said. "Yeah, it has. I wonder whose fault that is," Marinette snapped icily. They only laughed at Marinette's statement. "How's that coffee shop of yours? Doing well?" they asked. Marinette blew out an annoyed breath. This was annoying. Of course they wouldn't just cut to the chase and tell her why they had called. No, they had to drag on with mindless small talk. Now she could finally see how bothersome that was. "It's doing good," Marinette said coolly. "That's nice to hear. Tiki and Plag still working there?" they asked. Marinette rubbed her forehead and huffed. Look, you and I both know that you didn't just call just to say a little hi and talk all fluff. What is it? Why did you call? She spoke harshly. A low chuckle sounded. Ah, I guess I should have expected that. You're not gonna take any lovely welcome, especially not from me. I will say, I've missed your sass after all. That's what drew me to you, right? First, right, my lady? Marinette's breath hitched. Now her brain was going into overdrive, and her mouth was like, hey, I just won't work. Don't say that name, she uttered out. They gave a sharp laugh. I seem to recall that you rather liked it before. Marinette groaned. Key word, before. They gave a There runs your smart mouth again. Do you remember how much trouble it got you in? Marinette rolled her eyes and her lips pursed. That was years ago, she snarled. Our school days, our show days. I rather like reminiscing about them, they mused. Great! You can do as much backpedaling into our lives as you want, but you should know that you should have kept the present me out of whatever you've decided to do, Marinette said pointedly. Aw, but Princess, you've always been remembering more than me, they purred. Marinette's eyes went stormy. You know very well, all of those names are off limits, she spat out. They laughed at her irritation. But I miss them, like I missed you, they said smoothly, no doubt having a mischievous smirk on their face that Marinette was so lucky not to see. Her mouth dropped and she went bug-eyed. Just spill! What do you want? Marinette forced out. I wanted to patch things up. I think we've given each other enough time, they replied. Marinette's eyes narrowed. Not that they could see it. Who said I thought the same notion? She remarked. You like closure, they pointed out. Marinette was silent, which made them take it as a sure, let's work things out. 2? Tomorrow. I'll pick you up. I'd rather stay at my house. All right. 2 at yours tomorrow. You get an hour. Fine by me. I will be seeing you soon, Marinette. Same to you, Adrian. With that, Marinette hung up the phone, not even giving him a proper goodbye. She put her phone down and hit her head onto the table. Groaning, she ran her hands through her hair. After a minute of just being angry at life, Marinette finally got up and out of the chair and marched up to the studio where Luca was in. Hey, I'm sorry about that, she apologized. Luca shook his head with a kind smile on his face and understanding eyes. It's okay. I should be headed home anyways. It's unfortunate we didn't get to talk as much as I kind of wanted, but I will see you tomorrow, he said, putting away his computer and stood up. Marinette gave him a small sideways smile and nodded. Thanks for understanding, she said. Luca shrugged. We all have important calls. Luca opened the door and began down the stairs, but not before turning and giving Marinette a small wave. Also, what was that crash I heard? Marinette laughed a bit. Oh, that! Tiki just dropped a mug. Her arms waved it off, and Luca chuckled. That seems very unlike her. She's so careful, he said gently. Yep, Marinette called out as she heard his laughter slowly move out of earshot. Now Marinette was alone in her studio. She laced her fingers together and cursed to the heavens about what had just happened in the past, 10 minutes. Getting up, she went down the stairs and grabbed Tiki and Plag, who were lucky that Waze, Long, and Ditzy had just gotten in, and dragged them into the studio and closed the door. This should be counted as overtime, Plag snickered, making Tiki smack him in the arm. Ouch! Chill, woman, he hissed. We have a problem to deal with, Marinette sputtered. Plag raised his eyebrow in curiosity. Adrian called me and wanted to fix things or whatever, she gushed out. Plag's eyes went wide and he jumped out from his chair. What? He shouted, anger building. Tiki, however, sat back, arms crossed and fists on her cheeks, thinking calmly. What does he want? Plag spat out. Marinette threw her arms up in aspiration. I don't know. He just called out of the blue and tried to make small talk, and then was like, oh, I want to patch things up. See you at 2 tomorrow. So yeah, that's happening now, she called out. Plag growled but was pulled back into his chair by Tiki. Cafe or your house? Tiki said gently. Marinette was pacing the floor but answered, house. Tiki thought about it for a minute. How long? Marinette held up one finger, which Tiki nodded to. Well, that's already planned, so the minute an hour passes, me and Ollie will be over, and if he leaves early, just let us know, Tiki stated. Plag shook his head furiously. No, no way in hell. Plag began to snarl. His green eyes almost seemed to get darker and narrowed. His fists were balled up so tightly his knuckles were turning white, and the right of his lip was pulled upwards. Tiki shushed him before the end of the sentence. Plag, I don't like this any more than you do, but we all know Marinette needs the closure, especially since we haven't even put Luca in the equation. Tiki scolded. Her voice was even and calm, but her flared nostrils and knitted eyebrows told a completely different story. Luca, breathed Marinette. That had completely slipped her mind. Oh my god, she gasped. No way, Plag bellowed. No way is he ruining any other part of your life. Not again. I will end him before he even gets the chance. Plag's entire being lit up with fury as he spat out the he. Tiki reached over to take his hand, but he snatched it back. Marinette shook her head. No, guys, remember, I told you Luca and I have decided to work it out slowly, Marinette said firmly. Yeah, because it's hard to jump back in. And oh, I wonder whose fault that is. Oh, right. A blonde-haired freak that changed into this stupid son of a... Tiki clasped a hand over his mouth and muffled his voice. Plag glared angrily at her. His anger was very much showing. Arms stiffly crossed and mouth in a deep scowl. His eyes and brows were narrowed to the ground. Plag! Adrian will not ruin anything else in my life again, Marinette stated. With a deep frown, Plag nodded his head and sunk back down into the chair. Okay, we have a lot to talk about tomorrow. Marinette, you have a lot to deal with, so we all need to get home and eat something and calm down a little bit, Tiki said. Marinette nodded and the three made their way to the back of the cafe. Tiki gave Marinette a comforting look and Marinette gave her a hug. I promise it's gonna be okay. We have your back, Tiki promised her, and Plag nodded in agreement. Marinette thanked her friends, for they had always been there for her, and hopped into her car, planning a rather calm and relaxed night. I hope it'll be okay, she thought to herself. It's going to be okay, another very optimistic voice said in the back of her head. But the smallest voice in her head happened to be the loudest. Brace yourself, Marinette. Who knows what will lie ahead?